Tim and I have recently found ourselves saying to our 2 children, when we were growing up, or my parents would have never let me do that. And then it's become this running joke where our kids respond with a playful, back in my day, in retort to what we're saying. But there's a truth to that reflection. Watching our 13 and 11-year-olds navigate life, friends, schoolwork, current events, I find myself looking back. Who was I at that age? Between the ages of 11 and 13, I was living on a dairy farm in central Wisconsin. My life was consumed by milking cows, feeding calves, and baling hay. At the time, I thought it was torture. I struggled to see the point. Why work so hard? Does any of this matter? Do I really have to go to church every single week? Now, from a different vantage point, I see that those years taught me integrity, compassion, and connection. Today, we might ask different questions too. Who am I now? Am I who God wanted me to be? These same questions could be applied to baptism. Why do it? Does it really matter? Who really cares? Will anyone even remember? Will I even remember? The sacrament of baptism is an outward and visible sign of God's grace. It is the sign and seal of our participation in God's forgiveness and the beginning of growth into discipleship. It is a public acknowledgement of whose we are, beloved children of God. For Jesus, baptism was a public announcement. It was a public announcement of his calling. It was essential for his identity to be named before his work could begin. By marking himself with the water at the Jordan, Jesus laid claim to the prophecy of Isaiah. Here is my servant whom I uphold, a light to the nations, to open the eyes that are without sight. Jesus' ministry would not be easy. It would involve temptation, betrayal, and the cross. Even in the hardest moment, crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus remembered who he was. Will we? We are faced with fears we never thought we would see. As I began writing this sermon, we marked the anniversary of the insurrection at our nation's capital. Meanwhile, closer to home, we grieve another death at the hands of law enforcement, just miles from where George Floyd was murdered and Ascension Catholic School was shaken by gunfire. Being a witness in this area lately feels like deja vu. In the face of this, the prophet Isaiah still speaks to us, still speaks of justice and light. As we long for that justice, can we also claim our belovedness? The season of Epiphany begins with the heavens opening and a voice saying, "This is my Son, my beloved." The season ends similarly at the Transfiguration with the command, "This is my Son, the beloved, listen to him." These bookends remind Jesus and us who he is. On this Baptism Sunday, we are nudged to remember our own purpose. Does this really matter? Yes. Because the world is loud, but God's voice is louder. In a few moments, we'll be invited to remember and reimagine our baptism. We'll be invited to be renewed by the covenantal promise of acceptance. limitations, my friends. You are beloved. You are enough. With you, God is so great.